morning, dear student. I welcome you once again on this digital platform of learning. Today, we are going to discuss the very first chapter of geography for class 8. The chapter title is resources. As you know that resource is a very common term which you are in close contact from the class 5 onwards. So let us understand what resource actually means. See, resource are the raw material. What is resource? Resources are the raw materials drawn from nature without much modification. I mean to say that different types of item that is gifted to human beings and we get it from nature and without doing any further modification, that is actually termed as resource. But you should be aware of one thing, that resources in a raw form, it is not useful. Take the example of iron ore. Iron ore we get it from the nature, but until and unless we do some modification on it, we are unable to produce anything out of this raw material iron ore. So for the purpose of processing, human being is required. The resources used here is human being, and human beings applies their own skills and technology. So the third point is, for processing, technology is required. So some of the example of resources like raw wood obtained from the nature. Any other, you can also take the example like the minerals, whatever it may be, like iron, copper. These all are the resources which is very useful for mankind. I have also given one example. Raw wood obtained from the nature is not much useful for mankind, but it is modified. It can produce various wooden products. Take the example of a tree. Tree is also a natural resources, type of natural resource being gifted to us, the human beings. But till and until we do any further process on this tree, we are unable to produce anything, any desired item out of it. So human being, they apply their own skills as well as they take the example use of technology, and hence we can produce different type of wooden products from this tree. So let us come to the next point, that is the importance of resources. As you know that resource, it is a very useful thing, and we can also say that it is a great source of economical wealth. Resources improves quality of life. Earlier human beings were also, but they were not able to apply any skill and technology on this type of resources. Therefore, their standard of living and ours is quite different. Now we are living in the modern age. Human being is gifted with different type of luxuries and comforts of the life, but it was not possible in the case of human beings. At those time also the natural resources were present, but they can't apply their skill and the technology was not far so advanced. So let us move to the next slide and let us see what is there. Now this slide will discuss, in this slide I have tried to discuss about different types of resources. The different types of resources can be well understood by this block diagram you see here. Resources, first of all, it has been divided into two parts. One is the natural and the second one is the human. Further, natural resources has been divided into two parts. One is the renewable and the second one is the non-renewable sources. And human resources, it has been divided into two parts. One is the structures and institutions, and the second one is the quantity and quality. So, talking flatly about this renewable source. Renewable sources are the sources which can be renewed and can be used for a long period of time, whereas non-renewable source cannot be recycled. It cannot be used for a long period of time. And further, you can see the classification that renewable sources has been classified into biological resource, and biological resources has been divided into two parts, that is the natural vegetation and wildlife. Wildlife, all the types of animals and birds which we see, this comes under the biological resources as well as natural vegetation, different types of tree, herbs, shrubs, this all together accounts for the natural vegetation. Okay, let us move to the next slide. Now see, natural resources. We have in the previous slide we have seen the division of the resources. Here we come to know in details what is natural resource, what are the use of natural resource, how natural resource can be classified, what is the exact definition of the natural resource. Let us see one by one. The very first thing is the definition of natural resource. It is drawn directly from nature without much modification. Means it is gifted to us, the human beings, and we, the human being, does not do any modification on it till and until we require any desired products and things. The second point is free and precious gift of nature. All the different types of natural resources like trees, plants, herbs and shrubs, these all are precious for human being. Some of the example of natural resources are, you see, air, water, plant, mineral, etc. Now, it can be classified further into divisions and subdivisions. All the natural resources, it can be kept in separate groups, can be divided into different divisions and subdivisions, and this classification is based on origin, usability, renewability and distribution. Means very clearly I have tried to show you what in this slide. Let us see once again. First of all, the resource. Talking about the natural resource, these are the resources that are drawn directly from the nature, and without much modification we cannot process it into the desired object or the things which we require. The second point is, it is free and precious gift of nature. We, the human being, get it from the nature, and it is free to us, free for us, but as well as it is very precious. The example of natural resources you see here: air, water, plant, mineral, etc. And this natural resources can further be divided, and the division is based on origin, usability, renewability and distribution. Now let us see what these terms are: origin, usability, renewability and distribution. Origin here means to say what is the source from where they are being provided to human beings. Usability here means in which field we are going to use certain and specified natural resources. Renewability means whether we are able to use it again and again or not. And distribution means the particular specific area where these resources are found more and more. Now let us come to our next slide. Now the very first division of the natural resource in this slide I have tried to show you, that is on the basis of origin, and all the different types of natural resources on the basis of the origin can be divided into two parts. The first one is the biotic and the second one is the abiotic. Let us see what is the meaning of biotic resources. We, the human being, as well as all the types of plants, animals, these comes under the biotic resources, and it can be reproduced. Biotic resources can be reproduced. It is also known as organic resource. So biotic resource can also be termed as organic resources. So what is the example of biotic resources? Look here, all types of plant and animals. All the types of plant and animal is the example of biotic resource. Extremely sorry for the inconvenience. Now see, abiotic resources. What is abiotic resources? All non-living things may be termed as abiotic resources. For example, soils, minerals, rocks, etc. And they can't be reproduced. Once if it is exhausted, there is no way to find them again on this earth. So this was the very first division of natural resources that was based on the origin. Now move to our next slide. Now you see in this slide natural resources, the division of natural resources on the basis of stage of development and usability. I have tried to explain. I will explain it one by one. Please be cautious and stay tuned with me. The second thing that whenever you are sitting to see the video, have a pen and a notebook so that you may write down the important points. So let us continue. See, here the natural resources, all the different types of natural resources, they are divided. They can be divided based on the stage of development and usability. So, on this basis, the natural resources are further divided into two parts. The first one is the actual resource, and the second one is the potential resource. What is actual resource? The resources whose quantity is known, the resource whose quantity is confirmed, and they are continuously exploited by the human beings. And why the human beings are exploiting this type of resources? In order to fulfill their needs and demand. Take the example of iron, take the example of copper deposit, take the example of aluminum. These all types of resources, these all types of the natural resources may be kept under the division of actual resource. So, we had so far read about the different resources, and the main thing that underlies in the chapter is to make you aware first of all how the resources are classified, what is the meaning of resource, why resources are being used by the human beings, from where these resources are available to us, and we have discussed so far. And one thing that we have to keep in mind, that resources are extremely one of the greatest gift of the nature, and on the basis of the resource, the life of men, the life of the people in the contemporary world has become very fast and comfortable as compared to the early men. When you will see the hardness of their life, what you will find that they were not having the skill, so they can't use the resources in a better way. Actual resource, the example of actual resources is copper deposit in Rajasthan, and we know the scientists are always trying to come to the fact for how much time it can be used, means what time it will take to get exhausted. Now see the gold deposit of Kalgoorlie in Australia. The gold which we are getting in Australia in the mines of Kalgoorlie is also an example of actual resource. The black soil of Deccan Plateau, as you know that black soil is very useful for the production of cotton. Cotton grows favorably on the black soil, and it is found the black soil are spread over the Deccan Plateau. So this was the slide. I tried to show you the division of natural resource on the basis of stage and development. So in the next slide we shall be discussing more about this chapter. So my request to all of you is to go through the PDF section of this chapter which I have provided, and come with the doubts in your next social studies session. Thank you.